Oh man, I hate Mondays.
Nah, man, it's Tuesday.
Wait. What day is it?
You know what day it is? Tuesday. Brewsday Tuesday.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's time for Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar and Six Pack Store. Here's DreZ and Big Nate.
You're not tapping, Nate. I don't hear it. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I mean, does that work with bottles? No, we're gonna find out.
That lovely sound confirms it. Brewsday Tuesday brought to you by the Cellar Restaurant and Six Pack Store in downtown Blacksburg. I know for a fact that these beers did indeed come from there. In fact, I think all four of them did. And these ones, I've been sitting on them for a while, but I think that's okay because of what they are, which is big, badass, barrel aged. In fact, bourbon barrel, I think all of them are. For me, I just opened the Brooklyn Black Ops Four Roses Small Batch Edition, which means it is a stout aged in Four Roses small batch bourbon barrels. And as you would imagine, for anything aged in bourbon barrels for an extended period of time, it is a nice, hearty 12.4% alcohol by volume. Does this mean I probably should have eaten like lunch today? Oh, it never fails.
I've not spilled any yet, but I do want to point out, like, I didn't tap, and I can see where the head is moving. So this is just going to be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pour. It's mostly just head on that. So, what you mean? Like, Fruit Loops aren't just meals for your day?
Well, I did actually have cereal for breakfast, and it wasn't Fruit Loops, although that does sound really good right now. It was just your basic, Raisin Bran knockoff.
The toddlers have found, well, yeah, I mean, ours are Fruit Loops knockoff, but the toddlers have discovered Fruit Loops, which is one of my favorites. And but they won't have them with milk. That's sacrilege. They get all soggy, I guess.
Just chew on them.
They're just like a snack. I mean, which I guess, like, when you're starting to learn to count, you do Cheerios.
I was gonna say, I always remembered Cheerios. Yeah, babies eating Cheerios. They even have like the little Cheerio container for them.
Fruit Loops are like next level. They're a hot commodity in our house lately. So, how long have you been sitting on these?
I don't know. What does the bottle say? Is that what you're asking? I can't quite remember. Maybe actually that might be a bit newer. I don't know.
This is the Alewerks Brewing Company BBP Bourbon Barrel Porter. So that's what the P's for.
Oh,
Cellar Select.
I thought they were all stouts. So okay, so sorry, not all stouts. It's all bourbon. It's all bourbon barrel beers though.
2021. So like this one was like fully. I mean, they even went through the labor of putting a bottle cap on there, wrapping it in the foil and everything. So obviously they want this to be an experience. But I was just curious because 2021, porters, stouts, they're gonna sit, they're gonna age well. And I know you haven't been sitting on it since 2021.
No, definitely not that long.
I
could not sit on it. This one, it looks like there might be a date on the bottom, but it's old enough that I can't quite make it out. At least not from this angle.
The ink itself has expired, but this is a 9.0 ABV, so right up there.
Not too shabby.
As soon as I opened it, I could smell it, and then I was like, all right, we're good. I had set the bottle down, and then bubbles just started rising slowly through the top. So I think this is going to be a smooth, creamy, delicious experience, but we'll see.
It should be delicious, and it should be quite. The reason I busted these ones out is because they all are bourbon barrel, which means they're going to be higher ABVs. And after what you had to do last week with Huck and Dry January and whatnot, I figured we should go the exact opposite. Now that I'm back, we're back to drinking just big old badass beers.
Huck actually knocked it out of the park. I mean, obviously, if it's not necessarily a gun to his head, but it's a innovator to his head. You kind of have to make the right decision, and I think he's really gotten immersed in that culture. I'm excited to see kind of as it grows, because that's been Huck's thing, is growing and learning everything he can about a subject. So down the line, I'm intrigued to see what he brings in a beer wise.
Well, I definitely I read a recent article about the explosion in NA beers and how they've gotten super popular in the last year or two, specifically that athletic Brewing Company that I know he's grown so fond of with the NA beers that they're making.
I know I had the chance to have 3 of them. I think the lowest rating was a 4.25,
which is amazing for an NA beer.
because
mean,
I
let's be
did
honest.
completely throw the ABV out the window in my scoring because, well,
You
can't.
have to.
0.5 is not
Yeah,
gonna
that's
not gonna fly.
But no, that's great. And another an interesting thing I read on that survey was most of the people, vast majority of people that are drinking the NA beers aren't even like, sober or needing to do it because they can't drink alcohol. It's just sometimes you want a break, you want something different. You still want to have a beer, but you don't want to maybe drink.
I want a
So,
beer, but I've got stuff to do.
Yeah. I mean, so
I
rightfully
I
so.
can see the appeal.
I don't really fall into that category, however, but
At that point,
I
I
can
usually
understand it. I
just
guess.
have a soda.
Mhm.
Kind of achieves the same goal for me, but I'm very excited about this one. I think you chose well as a fan of porters and stouts and high ABV.
Yeah, you should.
I think this comeback show is just fantastic.
Yeah, well, I guess the other question is because I do know you are a fan of the darker beers more so than me. These are the ones that I can really stomach, though. You throw in the bourbon aspect, which I'm a big fan of. Where do you sit on bourbon? I can't. I know Huck and we like the bourbon. Where are you? Are you a fan? Do you dabble at all, or are you just kind of?
I'm looking.
Not your cup of tea.
Bourbon's my go-to for liquor. Trying to kind of go back through my life and think of beverages I've had because they like to do bourbon barrel aged red wine. A huge fan. Like I've never had what I would call a hugely negative experience with anything bourbon barrel aged. It's always been all right. This is stepping things up a level.
Yeah. So what's your favorite kind of bourbon?
I mean, if we have to are we talking like dream? Kind of getting our hands on it, or
no? Because
regular.
I'm assuming your dream that you haven't got you probably haven't had it before. Like I've never had
Correct.
Pappy's.
Yeah, it was Pappy's mine.
Yeah. So.
My go-to is Evan White Label.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Absolutely, if I can get my hands on it. It took forever for the provisioner to get it around here, and then they did, and now they've since run into hard times getting it in stock again. So Black Label's always a staple as well.
That's fair. That's same. My issue is getting your hands on the Buffalo Trace. I know Huck was kind enough to bestow some of that on us for Christmas when he was in, which was
that didn't last long.
Fantastic. Yeah. I know what you mean. But either way, I'm a big fan of bourbon. And this one is, like I said, the Four Roses small batch. I don't know where you stand on Four Roses, but they're definitely up there. I've actually been to that distillery. I've done the whole bourbon trail thing, and they're one that I remember being pretty good. I do have the glass, the souvenir glass that came along with that. It's particularly the small batch is quite tasty on the palate, and it's awesome that they were able to. Does yours specify? Most of the time, they don't say exactly what type of bourbon barrel you're dealing with when it comes to the aging process. But so I thought that was pretty interesting that Brooklyn
they brag about it.
Yeah, actually, and you can even see on the can here they do have. Surely it might even be. I don't know if it's collaboration where that is actually the Four Roses logo. It might be. But either way, they do have Four Roses right there on the can, which is a nice nod to what you're going to be drinking.
But no, I have no idea what bourbon barrels. And I also wonder, this was kind of a conversation that I had off air with someone. I can't remember who it was, but now to be bourbon barrel aged, you have to actually be in the barrel. What if you do, like, for instance, Budweiser likes to brag that they put was it cedarwood staves in the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if you were just kind of cheating your bourbon barrel situation and you chopped the bourbon barrel up a bunch and then threw it in?
I don't think you could say I don't think you could say aged.
Okay.
You could probably call it a bourbon barrel, whatever.
So you could still use that bourbon barrel, but you can't say aged in.
I would say so, yeah. I think that's the difference there.
Okay.
Which that's a good point. I don't remember if these all say aged or if these are just some are bourbon barrel. Like this one specifically does say
it does say
aged in.
And this one says in, and that's kind of what triggered it in my brain. It's got the in written in italics to really like distinctify. So I just wonder if there are breweries out there that are kind of trying to cheat. They want to throw that bourbon barrel on there, but they don't have the time or resources to
really do it.
to really do it.
Properly. All right, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I know that the next two beers we're drinking are also bourbon barrel. I assumed age. I just you assume age, but we'll look at the label carefully and inspect it.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, you know, I am a big bourbon guy. We've been over this a lot. Next week, you know, I might as well go ahead and tease it now. We're going to be doing the Scotch thing because I was in Scotland for
Wait,
just over 2 weeks.
is that where you went?
That's where I went. That's where I was. So yeah, I think BB will come in and we can school you on some Scotch because that I'm assuming you're not as familiar with.
No, I feel like Scotch is kind of one of those things like champagne. It's first of all, it has to be from Scotland,
Correct.
and well,
Like bourbon needs to be from America.
I don't
by
think
the
I've
way.
ever actually had champagne.
Oh, really? Not even like what's it, Monet or whatever it is?
Like, is that real? Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about champagne to know.
Yeah,
like,
most of the stuff over here is Prosecco.
I would say New
that you're
Year's
getting.
Eve, I had Prosecco, and God, that's just the worst hangover in the world.
Yeah,
But
that's you don't really want to just
but
drink
I've,
that.
I've heard the same thing about champagne. So
Champagne, I mean, we actually did have some proper champagne on New Year's Eve. Actually, that might have been, yeah, it must have been New Year's Eve. When the next day. Could have been the next day. Actually, it might have been the next day. Either way, because she'll tell you, my BB actually gave up Prosecco for this year for a New Year's resolution. Last year she didn't drink wine. This year no Prosecco. But so we got this. It was like sort of a, you know, congratulate because we met up with some of her friends. This is all stuff we should say for next week, but we're on the subject. We met up with some of her friends that we haven't seen. A lot of people we hadn't seen since we actually got married.
Yeah.
So they gave us a nice bottle of whatever. I guess it's a Monet, right? Isn't that like the fancy type of champagne? It was good. It was delicious.
that's one of those things. Like, I also only have it once a year. Like, I'm not someone who's like, and this is where I run into a problem. Prosecco, like, I didn't want to drink 3/4 of the bottle, but I also didn't want to like just pour it down the drain because it's gonna fizz out and expire and go bad. You can't really recork Prosecco. So I would be intrigued to maybe do some more research at some point. I know like champagne has its own special yeast and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you a brand name. Like, I know Andre because, and I'm positive that's not real champagne. I think that's made in California.
Yeah, that's what I
There's
think.
Brut.
My Andre is that's my go-to of like if I'm mimosas. That's the only time I mess with those.
Exactly.
If you're going to be drinking early in the morning, you get the mimosas going.
We need to find someone really into champagne and do
we could ask her next week when she's on the show, but yeah, I can't remember. But it was a very nice bottle. It was delicious, and it was funny because I was just like, "Oh, it's great that gave this a gift," but you gave it up. So I think initially she was going to do champagne. I think she switched it to Prosecco because we got that bottle.
That's a cop out.
You can't not drink this. It's delicious. Speaking of delicious,
Yeah.
I don't know how you're liking yours. Now, I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's because of the age. Definitely seems a little flat. This Brooklyn Black Ops, the Four Roses small batch. But when it comes to a stout, specifically a barrel aged stout, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. One thing that, and frankly, I probably should have pulled out the other beers, like, and put them on the fridge because I know that a lot of stouts and stuff you really don't want to drink super cold. This one, I bet when you drink it, you know, during the song, when you give this a try, you might enjoy it a little bit more because it's warmed up a bit. I feel like that might bring a little bit more to bring out the flavor and really enhance it. That being said, it's still quite fantastic. Again, a little on the flatter side, but that's not bothering me too much. 12.4% is exactly the kind of ABV you would hope for a big, nice Four Roses small batch bourbon stout. It's good, man. There's no doubt about it. It's a good one to come back starting the new year right. I don't know if it's quite a 5 because I know what's coming up next. Got to maybe leave a little wiggle room there. And again, the flat thing, I would have expected and hoped for maybe a little bit more head action on there. The lacing looks adequate though. The Brooklyn Black Ops, I'm assuming this is from, I would say this year, but last year. I'll give it a 4 point, maybe just a 4.75. We'll do it a 4.75.
Okay.
It's up there. It's
So-
no 4.5. Let's be honest. It's a 4.5.
Okay, 4.5. That's your final score.
Final answer.
DreZ drinks on Untapped. I'm Big Nate Danger and Alewerks Brewing Company, the bourbon barrel porter. Cellar Select. I mean, you're not going to put Cellar Select on there and not have just an absolutely incredible product. 9.0.
And now I haven't been since I've been back, but it was selected at the Cellar.
ABV.
They might still have some.
You know what? Even farther than that. That's I didn't even think about that connotation there, but it's beautiful. It's smooth. It drinks so easily. Obviously it had its fair share of head. As soon as I popped it, it kind of just slowly trickled up and bubbled out. There's kind of a lot of coffee and chocolate going on here, but it mixes so well with the warmth of the bourbon.
You almost scared me away with the coffee label on there, but I guess that's what you'd expect.
It's
from
not
a
the
porter.
it's not the bitter aspect of coffee. It's the
Sweeter.
yeah. So I mean, it's I know we're trying to leave room for the second
You
round,
could do it,
but I'm going to go
if
ahead.
you think it's worthy.
This might be one of the very best porters I've ever had in my life. I would definitely drink it again. It's a 5.
We might be setting the bar a little too high
I
for the new year.
I don't know if we can go up from here.
Well, we'll find out shortly. We'll continue to drink our bourbon barrel. I guess perhaps age. We need to look at the next ones and see bourbon barrel stouts and porters. We got another round coming up here on Brewsday Tuesday. Stick around to find out.